In the first half of the 19th century, a new city, Toledo, Ohio, was created at the far edge of the Western Reserve, where the Great Black Swamp once covered the land. The small city grew rapidly. Its strategic location at the corner of Lake Erie made it a natural center of warehousing, banking, business, and shipping. Draining the swamp produced rich farmlands. Business in Toledo was dominated early on by the glass industry, which was soon followed by the manufacture of a whole range of parts needed to supply the new automobile industry up the road in Detroit. The bustling economy encouraged an elegant local society, men and women who were well-traveled, well-read, and ambitious. They built impressive homes, churches, schools, and theaters. These city fathers and mothers built with a vision. They knew, no matter how loudly business was booming, no matter how opulent their surroundings, they knew that a true city must include those institutions that elevate and enlighten the mind. It was a matter of pride as much as it was a devotion to the arts. The Toledo Museum of Art was the first major temple of enlightenment to be built in Toledo. The museum was, and remains, an extraordinary cultural achievement. Its founder, Edward Drummond Libby, had made his fortune revolutionizing the design and manufacture of glassware. Childless, he left the museum an endowment that has allowed it to amass a world-famous collection and carry out community educational programs of the highest caliber. The desire for a Toledo Symphony Orchestra had begun as far back as 1850. The first performance by a Toledo Symphony was in 1897. An embryonic Toledo orchestra played at the museum groundbreaking in 1912. By 1920, an orchestra with a board of trustees had been assembled and launched a concert season. Each program booklet began with a letter from a musical luminary urging Toledo to establish its own symphony. Their language is high-flown, their message clear. You can't be a real city if you don't have a real orchestra.
Dear Sir, I heartily sympathize with the wish and purpose of the Toledo Orchestral Club to establish a symphony orchestra on a permanent basis. Any city that has advanced far enough in its musical progress to desire and to support a symphony orchestra must have also reached the point at which such an orchestra is an indispensable factor in its further musical progress and education. Every city in America, as in Europe, must sooner or later have such an orchestra. Now is the best time. Wishing you a speedy accomplishment of your purpose, I am yours sincerely, Victor Herbert.
In 1933, in the midst of the Great Depression, Florence Scott Libby built the Peristyle, a performing arts and concert hall that echoes and balances the graceful Neo-Grecian facade of her husband's art museum. Few concert halls are built in conjunction with an art museum. Perhaps a resident Toledo Symphony might now take its place as one of the pillars of Toledo's cultural life. But although there was a beautiful hall, musicians and music lovers aplenty, there was no single financial patron and no endowment for an orchestra. Efforts to establish a permanent symphony came in fits. Starts, stops, then starts again. But the efforts did continue, driven by fierce passion, a passion often masquerading as gentlewomen at tea parties, and by the unyielding conviction that a civilized city must have its own orchestra. Finally, in 1943, our Toledo Symphony Orchestra made its debut under the baton of Edgar Schenkman. It was small, it was lean, but it was not frail. It had good bones and healthy lungs, and it was ready to grow. It has never stopped growing.